To what extent are the Micah Parsons LT, Lawrence Taylor, comparisons apt? Because, usually when you get these guys come into the league and they're compared to some Hall of Famer or superstar, it's immediately ridiculous. And yet It doesn't feel like it is for Micah Parsons.
No, and I think what makes Micah basically channel LT is just his absurd ability to go from 0 to 100 when the ball is snapped. And it's certainly, he's not the only guy. I mean, TJ Watt has many of those characteristics, and we just see guys who play every down like their life is depending on it as somewhat outliers, just because it's really easy. I remember your show last week where you guys were talking about the fact that the guys who are running the Tyreek short motion don't do it at full speed all the time because the ball's not coming to me. And Micah Parsons and LT don't play that way. They play like it's the old Joe DiMaggio thing where this might be the only snap of me you ever see in your life. And so I have to show you what I'm all about right here, right now. And that's what Micah Parsons is. The questions, of course, are, can his body hold up at this pace? And, health-wise. And just, if he can, it's already in Dallas, this conversation of, I know those two guys have gold jackets, but is he really better than Charles Haley and DeMarcus Ware already? And at least you guys have seen that era very clearly, and how great DeMarcus Ware was. He's one of my favorite players I've ever seen. He wasn't this. Right. He wasn't this every week. And so I think the Micah LT comparisons sound ridiculous and yet make sense to me. I also know that part of LT's image or mysticism was that he was a complete psychopath off the field. And while I do know that Micah is a handful, see the fact that they never take him out of games, even when they're up 40, because nobody wants to deal with him on the sideline, complaining that he was just taken out of a game when he could be, chasing down another quarterback. I'm positive there are some differences. I also am pretty positive he's going to get like $35 million a year next year, and he looks historically great. And as you guys have said, and as the entire world has said, he wasn't an edge rusher in his draft. This makes no sense. It makes all of our draft nerddom look like a complete waste of time sometimes.
It's going to ruin all sorts of like pretty good pass rushing linebackers coming out like, oh, let's move them to the edge. It's like, no, Micah is one of one when it comes to that. There's no way you do that.
And his size says we should run right at him. And I'm sure Kyle Shanahan wants to do that on Sunday, and because everybody does. It makes sense. If you're going to run a 240-pound defensive end out there, we have to punish him physically with the run. I'll tell you, and you guys know this, when you run right at Micah Parsons, you're probably going to tackle for loss. Now, you might be taking his legs away for the fourth quarter, and maybe that's really why you're doing it. But the way to beat Micah Parsons is what they did on that Dobbs play, where they get him to eat the cheese and use his over pursuit against him on a zone read. If you can do that, you can perhaps elude him. You better be right, though, because it's going to hurt if you're wrong. But running right at Micah, he defeats blocks so quickly when he's at the point of attack that I don't really think that's nearly as big a weakness as people want to say, just because they see his weight and they say, well, this is clearly his weakness. I don't think that's true with him.
Yeah, sometimes it is interesting seeing how a smart offensive coordinator handles that, because sometimes it's like, well, you can't always just run away from him, or you can't always, read off of him. Sometimes you run at him, away from him, you screen, you do all these things. Like that was what happened with the Chiefs and Nick Bosa last year, right? Yeah. They had him running in circles. Like we're just going to always make him wrong, or make his life difficult. Dallas is maybe too good to just focus on Micah Parsons, but looking forward to the whole cat and mouse game.